The South China Sea, a vital artery of global trade, is more than just a stretch of water. It is a lifeline for billions, with over a third of the world's maritime commerce passing through its narrow straits and open expanses every year. The region's economic importance is matched only by its volatility, as competing territorial claims and military posturing have made it one of the most contested bodies of water on the planet. In recent years, the South China Sea has once again become the stage for a dangerous geopolitical drama, where the ambitions of powerful nations collide and the risks of miscalculation are ever present. In September 2025, what began as a routine escort mission for Filipino fishermen quickly escalated into a major international incident, drawing the world's attention to these troubled waters. Filipino fishing communities, long dependent on these seas for their livelihoods, have increasingly found themselves at the center of a high-stakes standoff. The BRP Suluan, a Philippine Coast Guard vessel, was performing its duty, escorting local fishing boats through the country's own exclusive economic zone. Suddenly, Chinese vessels closed in aggressively, their intentions unmistakable. The tension in the air was palpable as the Philippine crew braced for confrontation. A Chinese destroyer, accompanied by a large Coast Guard cutter, attempted to intimidate the lone Philippine ship. This show of force has become a familiar tactic in these contested waters, where intimidation and brinkmanship are part of daily life for those who dare to challenge China's sweeping claims. But in a shocking and unexpected twist, the Chinese destroyer collided with its own Coast Guard counterpart near Scarborough Shoal. The incident unfolded in seconds, but its consequences would reverberate for months to come. The impact was severe, tearing through the hull of the Coast Guard vessel and causing significant damage. Emergency crews rushed to respond, but the damage was done. The collision sent shockwaves through the region, raising fears of further escalation. The Philippine ship, caught in the middle of the chaos, managed to document the entire incident. Their footage, showing the dramatic collision and its aftermath, provided undeniable video evidence of the confrontation at sea. Intelligence reports later suggested that at least 2 Chinese personnel lost their lives in the accident, a tragic outcome that underscored the real human cost of these maritime power plays. The footage quickly spread across international news outlets, transforming what might have been dismissed as a chaotic encounter into a verifiable diplomatic incident. The world watched as the story unfolded, demanding answers and accountability. China's aggressive pursuit had backfired spectacularly, leaving Beijing with a disaster it could not easily explain away. The incident not only damaged vessels and claimed lives, but also exposed the risks of unchecked ambition in one of the world's most volatile regions. The collision near Scarborough Shoal was a major embarrassment for Beijing. President Xi Jinping's narrative of military strength was undermined by the accident. State media ignored the incident and officials deflected questions, clinging to rhetoric about China's sovereignty. The silence revealed how damaging the truth was to China's image of competence. The incident exposed the risks of China's grey zone tactics, using Coast Guard and militia vessels to intimidate neighbors. Aggressive maneuvers in close quarters carry real dangers, as this self-inflicted accident proved. Beijing now faced a dilemma: admit failure or deny reality as evidence spread. Critics seized on the incident as proof of the instability China's actions cause. For a government obsessed with control, this was the worst kind of crisis, one it could not contain. Washington responded swiftly to the collision, demonstrating its commitment to its allies in the region. The ongoing harassment of Philippine vessels by foreign ships had escalated tensions significantly. The U.S., a treaty ally of the Philippines, dispatched 2 warships to the area, the USS Higgins and USS Cincinnati. These ships were sent to assert freedom of navigation and to support the Philippines. Their presence was a clear signal to Beijing that the Philippines would not stand alone. The U.S. was ready to back its ally with military might. The American ships conducted freedom of navigation operations, directly challenging China's sweeping claims over the South China Sea. This was a bold move to ensure that international waters remained open and free. Chinese warships shadowed the Americans, closely monitoring their movements and signaling their displeasure. Additionally, a Chinese jet buzzed a Philippine aircraft, raising tensions further and showcasing the volatile nature of the region. The U.S. response was about more than ships. It reaffirmed a promise. This was a demonstration of the enduring commitment to its allies. American officials have made clear that an attack on Philippine assets could trigger mutual defense obligations. This was a reminder of the strong defense ties between the two nations. By sending warships to the site, the U.S. put weight behind its words, showing that it was prepared to act if necessary. The line between harassment and armed conflict was now dangerously thin. The presence of these warships highlighted the precarious balance in the region. The stakes for all sides had just been raised, with the potential for conflict looming larger than ever. At the heart of America's response is the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. Once ambiguous, the U.S. has clarified that the treaty covers Philippine assets in the South China Sea. This has emboldened Manila, which now considers joint patrols and direct U.S. involvement in resupply missions to contested outposts. Such moves would put American and Filipino forces side by side, raising the stakes for China. The alliance is being strengthened through action, not just words. Joint military exercises, especially under President Marcos Jr., have grown in scale and relevance to the South China Sea. Manila's previous hedging between Washington and Beijing has ended. China's pressure has pushed the Philippines firmly back into America's embrace. The treaty is now a living agreement, tested in real time. The South China Sea is one of the world's most critical maritime thoroughfares. 1/3 of global shipping, over $3 trillion annually, passes through these waters. Any conflict here would send shockwaves through the global economy. The region is rich in oil, gas and fisheries, fueling competition for resources. Scarborough Shoal, the site of the collision, lies well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. China seized control of the shoal in 2012, denying Filipino fishermen access. For Beijing, control is about more than resources. It's about projecting military power. Outposts like Scarborough allow China to monitor and potentially control vital sea lanes. Each reef and shoal is a strategic chess piece in the contest for regional dominance. This is why a clash over a few rocks can bring great powers to the brink. The South China Sea conflict is also fought in the courts of international law. In 2013, the Philippines challenged China's sweeping claims at an international tribunal. The 2016 ruling was a decisive victory for Manila, rejecting China's 9-dash line and affirming Philippine rights. China dismissed the ruling as waste paper and launched a global campaign to discredit it. Every Chinese blockade of Philippine ships now openly defies international law. For Manila and its allies, the ruling is a source of legal and moral authority. For Beijing, it's an inconvenient truth to be ignored. This legal standoff fuels the ongoing cycle of confrontation. Under President Marcos Jr., the Philippines has shifted from accommodation to active resistance. Manila now documents and publicizes every Chinese harassment, winning the battle for international opinion. Journalists are embedded on patrols and videos of Chinese aggression are released worldwide. The Philippines is also diversifying its security partnerships. In August 2025, Manila held its first joint naval exercise with India in the South China Sea. This signals a growing coalition of nations concerned about Chinese expansion. Beijing warns against outsiders, but Manila sees partnerships as essential for survival. The Philippines' new hardline stance marks a more assertive chapter in its defense of sovereignty. Tensions in the South China Sea have escalated, now intertwining with the region's most volatile flashpoint, Taiwan. What was once a contest over reefs and maritime boundaries has become a potential trigger for a much larger conflict, drawing in global powers and raising the stakes for everyone in the region. China considers Taiwan a renegade province, an inseparable part of its territory, and has never ruled out the use of force to achieve reunification. In recent years, Beijing has ramped up military pressure, sending warplanes and ships near Taiwan almost daily, signaling its resolve to assert control. The United States, meanwhile, is committed by law to help Taiwan defend itself. American warships regularly patrol the area, and U.S. officials have warned that any attempt to take Taiwan by force would have grave consequences, raising the risk of a wider war that could engulf the entire region. President Marcos Jr. has made it clear that the Philippines would inevitably be drawn into any conflict over Taiwan, given its geographic proximity and security ties with the United States. For Manila, neutrality is no longer an option. The Philippines' northernmost islands lie less than 100 miles from Taiwan, straddling the crucial Bashi Channel, a strategic maritime passage that could become a front line in any future conflict. These islands are now of immense military and geopolitical importance. In response, Manila has granted the U.S. expanded access to bases in the north, allowing American forces to pre-position equipment and personnel. These bases are now seen as vital staging grounds for any Taiwan contingency, further cementing the alliance. This deepens the strategic alignment between Manila and Washington, as both nations conduct joint exercises and strengthen military cooperation to deter aggression and ensure regional stability. Ironically, China's assertive actions are now driving its neighbors closer together, strengthening the very coalition it seeks to deter. Multinational naval exercises and new security partnerships are reshaping the balance of power in Asia. The Philippines is no longer a bystander. It has become a frontline state in a great power competition, with its military on heightened alert and its people bracing for the possibility of conflict. The fate of its reefs and shoals is now inseparable from the future of Taiwan and the wider Indo-Pacific, as the region stands on the edge of a new and dangerous era. As of September 21, 2025, the South China Sea remains a cauldron of tension. China shows no sign of changing course, and U.S. deployments have only heightened the stakes. The Philippines, no longer passive, is strengthening alliances for a long struggle. The future could bring a tense stalemate, with ongoing harassment and risk of escalation. A more optimistic scenario would see de-escalation and a new code of conduct, but that would require a major shift from Beijing. The most dangerous path is further escalation, an incident triggering the U.S.-Philippines Treaty and direct conflict with China. With Taiwan in the mix, a regional clash could spiral into a global catastrophe. The path from disputed shoals to world war is frighteningly short. The choices made by leaders in Beijing, Washington, and Manila will determine which future unfolds.